Martin from Chicago, welcome, my friend. Martin, if you could do me a favor, please, since you are the first person in the chat, a formal hello to you. Thank you for stopping by. If you could, please give me a sound check. Let me know how my audio is. Also, how is the video feed? Let me know if the video is coming through clear, resolution with clarity, no hiccups, no stutters, no lag. Please let me know on that. Give me some feedback there. Good on both. Great. Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it, buddy. If you guys give me just a second here, I'm going to finish getting set up and then we can go ahead and get started. All right, so I'm pretty much all set. Got everything, looks good. Let's see here. Let's see who we got in the chat. We have, oh, chat disappeared. Where are we at here? We have Martin from Chicago. Again, welcome. Thank you for being here, Martin. Glad you could make it. Darian is here. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure as you guys are starting to pile in, say your formal hellos. And we'll get that going. Christian, thank you for being here, man. Glad you could make it. Looks like things are getting kind of messy out here in Cleveland. It's getting a little dark out. I'm guessing that means rain. The particular school I work at has their homecoming this weekend. So that could possibly affect the homecoming game, all the festivities and whatnot. Let's just go ahead and get started. Looks like you guys already got some comments and some questions. What's going on here? Before I get started, in terms of what's been going on this week, we do have some 5G news as it pertains to residential 5G. Verizon's been chirping a little bit. We know that they got their upcoming deployment of their home 5G service, which launches October 1st. We have AT&T been talking a little bit about 5G, home 5G, as it pertains to their pricing and their plans that they're going to offer. So I've got a video up and coming on that. And T-Mobile also has a little bit of news from their 5G side, 5G residential. They kind of timeline and mapped what they're doing in the future as it pertains to their offerings, how they're going to price it, what type of deal they're going to be offering and stuff like that. So we do have some 5G news up and coming. In terms of wireless, in terms of carriers, it's been a little quiet. There hasn't been much going on, kind of pretty much status quo. So no groundbreaking news there. Now, a little bit of action coming from the merger as it pertains to Sprint and T-Mobile, but nothing crazy. We do see that TracFone was making a little bit of noise. For those of you that aren't really sure what TracFone is a prepaid MVNO that actually does business with pretty much all the wireless carriers at this point. So they are pro-merger, and they made it clear to the FCC that they supported the merger, and they wanted to see it happen because they want to see the network integration and how that would help them in terms of them offering services. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'll probably get to that video this one as well. A couple are going to be Patreon exclusives, and a couple will make their way onto YouTube. I might have one tonight or tomorrow, and then there'll be a secondary one either Sunday or Monday. So be on the lookout for that. But other than that, that's pretty much what's been going on with the wireless side. Of course, you can now pick up an iPhone XS or an iPhone XS Max. Those are available in stores today. I'm not sure if anybody was lining up to buy them. I'm not really sure if anybody's really excited for them per se, but I know that now that they are available in stores, people can get their hands on them, whether it's in the Apple Store or with carrier. So that obviously is some big news. Um, I don't know. They're pretty expensive. Not everybody's going to be rushing to spend $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 for a smartphone. So it's definitely not for everyone. It's definitely not for me. I'm not that type of consumer. I don't spend that kind of money on smartphones. So I won't be getting one personally, but I'm sure some of you guys will be as well. Yeah, if you're an Android person, the iPhones don't do much for you. Maybe there's somebody in your family that's thinking about getting one of the new iPhones. So you got the 10s, you got the 10s Max. They come in at $1,000, $1,100 at their entry points. The 10R won't be coming out until October, so you're gonna have to hang on another few weeks, and then they're gonna release that. It's a little bit cheaper, coming in at $749. The display's not full HD, so that's kind of an issue. A lot of people are flipping out on different YouTube channels and different reviewers about that. So that could be a deal breaker for some. Maybe the value isn't there. Maybe these phones are just too expensive for you. That could be a deal. But if you're more of an Android person and you like the Google phones, those are up and coming. We've got the Pixel 3, the Pixel 3 XL. There might be a couple other pieces of hardware that Google's bringing out. So the hardware side, still some smartphone news to cover, and there's still some stuff coming out, even though we're kind of in the back half of the year. So yeah, that stuff, if you guys want to cover that, anything from the carriers, you guys want to just bounce off some ideas, whatever you guys want to cover, I'm fair game. You guys got me for about an hour. Probably can't stay past about 1 hour or so. So hopefully we can get a good turnout today. Things might be a little bit quieter, but it's okay. I'm here with you guys. We do this every week. I'm excited to be here. I'm glad you guys could make it. So let's go ahead and officially start the Sneed Mobile Tech live stream. This is Sneed from Sneed Mobile Tech. It is September 21st, 2018. Thank you all for being here. Formal hellos. I see some of you guys there in the live chat. Anything you guys want to cover, anything you want to talk about, go ahead and just leave your comments or put your questions in the live chat below, and I'll try to get through everything. We shouldn't have any issues. Looks like things are going to be quiet this week, homecoming weekend and whatnot. So I'm excited to be here. Glad you guys can make it. Let's just go ahead and get started, and I'll check in on the live chat here. All right, so let's see. We have Darian, who says, "What's up, buddy?" Well, good to have you, Darian. Glad you could be here. He says, "I have Verizon. They take away my data even when my mobile data is off. Why?" I'm not really sure what type of problem you're describing, Darian. So I'm not really sure what exactly is going on. Sounds to me like you might have to contact customer care and see what's going on there. Martin says, "I'm an Android guy." Me too, man. I'm a big time Android guy. I go back with Android probably, and at least 6, maybe 7 years. I originally, with smartphones, I started with BlackBerry, and then I transitioned after kind of like G. My first 4G phone was an Android. So I've been with Android a while. I started with like the original Motorola Droid, the metal slider, and I stayed with Motorola for a while, and then eventually I transitioned to HTC, and I had my pretty good luck with them. I really liked the HTC phones, but then they kind of fell a little bit for me, and I went back to Motorola because I bought the Nexus 6. I bought LG Nexuses. I've always been an Android guy too, so. And I'm not trying to put down Apple. I just, I picked up an Android to start things. I like the operating system, and I guess the history's been all Android for me. And I actually like what Android is doing now better than I like what Apple's doing now in terms of hardware and software. So I won't be switching to Apple anytime soon, but I'm pretty well versed in Apple. I'm an iPhone repair specialist. I've been fixing iPhones forever. So yeah, I'm pretty familiar with that. My wife, she's a big Apple user. Her family, they're big on Apple. My family, there's iPhones galore, so I'm definitely around Apple just as much as I am Android. Fernando says, "What do you think about Verizon Home Internet?" Fernando, glad you could make it, man. Actually, I'm not really sure what you mean about their home internet. You mean their current services, or do you mean the 5G offerings? In terms of home services, I'm guessing you're talking about Verizon Fios, which in places where Verizon Fios is available, it seems to be a pretty good service. Here, the pricing is pretty standard. It's the same as all the other providers. I hear service is pretty reliable. The hardware is pretty good. Verizon, in terms of customer care, it's kind of hit or miss. Some people really like them. Some are not really fans. So I'm not really sure if you were talking about Fios or if you're talking about 5G. Now, if you're talking about the residential 5G services they're going to offer, I'm very excited about that. I want to see exactly what they're doing as it pertains to the hardware. I want to see how they've got their 5G boxes set up outside in terms of trajectory, how they're transmitting signals, and I want to see kind of like the hardware that they're putting in people's homes. So I haven't really seen any of that. I got to do a little bit of digging around, and I want to check to see what it's like. And then, of course, the pricing seems to be pretty good. It seems pretty fair. They're charging $60 a month for the 5G service for a non-Verizon wireless subscriber. If you have Verizon Wireless, they're giving you a $20 discount, so it's $50 a month. And they're also throwing in Apple 4K TV as a service or YouTube TV, which is pretty nice. So they're giving you a streaming service to go with your connectivity. If you ask me, that's pretty good value. I mean, it's definitely worth a shot, especially if you're like many other people and you don't like your cable or home service provider. So I think in the limited 4 or 5 markets they're going to be starting in, I think some people are going to give them a shot. And that's all because cable providers have been lacking in their service and they've been lacking in their innovation. And I think people are they're willing to try something new, and they want better value. Maybe Verizon can provide it. Dank Hank, what's up, buddy? Glad you could be here, man. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see here. Mark, hey, buddy. Easy with the driving while on the phone. Just set it and forget it, man. You got me on audio. Safety first, always. Darian says, "Does AT&T have the strongest 4G LTE signal?" Uh, Maybe. Kind of depends where you are. There are definitely markets where AT&T's coverage is top notch and signals are very strong. Some places where AT&T's coverage isn't that great, in signal and stuff like that, and slower speeds because of congestion or not really supporting the network there with enough spectrum. That's usually the case with AT&T, I see, but their coverage is usually pretty good. They're definitely, in reliability, they're up there. I placed them a little bit ahead of T-Mobile on reliability, and definitely Sprint. But yeah, overall, I feel they're a pretty good provider. Most people are pretty satisfied with their coverage and service from AT&T. Now, customer care is a different ballgame. I've heard people say some pretty nasty things about the customer care from AT&T, and if you ever ask somebody who's fell out with AT&T, they usually have some pretty bad things to say about them. Sorry, guys, I'm a little thirsty today. It's hot over here. Cleveland today, I think it hit like 87 degrees, so it was warm. Arcelia, thank you for stopping by. Hello, glad to have you. Glad you could be here. Again, I plan on being here for about an hour. I think that should be fine. Whatever you guys want to cover today. In the introduction earlier, I kind of gave like a timeline of what I'm doing for the next up and coming videos. There's a little bit of 5G news as it pertains to residential 5G. Verizon's launching on October 1st. We have AT&T has kind of roadmapped some of its potential plans that they're going to offer with their home 5G. T-Mobile's kind of given a timeline of what they're doing up and coming this year with their 5G residential services. So I've got a video covering that. I've got a video on the merger as well as it pertains to some developments that are going on with regulations and the prepaid side, coming specifically from some contact that TracFone has made with the FCC. It looks like TracFone is supporting the merger, and they believe that it might be able to help them in the long term in providing services for them as an MVNO. So we'll have to see what exactly that entails. I'll cover all the details in the video on what we know. So that's kind of what I'm doing here over the weekend. You'll see at least 2 videos on the Patreon page. I'll have at least 1 on YouTube, possibly even 2. So that's kind of what's coming up with the Disney Mobile Tech YouTube channel and the Patreon page. Yeah, Arcelia, I saw that Verizon commercial for 5G. They're starting to really advertise it. They're trying to get it out there. They want people to know that they're going to be offering the service. Now, the only thing is, I don't know if they're advertising it only in the cities where they're serving it, or if they're just advertising it nationally to everybody. The reason I'm saying that's important is because at this point in time, since they're not going to be servicing other than just a handful of cities, why would they want to run advertisements for a product that isn't going to be there available, local to those places? So, say for example, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm in the Cleveland area. 5G residential services from Verizon aren't available here just yet. Um, so, I'm seeing commercials for it on YouTube. I'm seeing commercials for it on TV. Now, most of the time when I'm seeing it, it's national. So what I'm watching is like national broadcasts of like NFL games and stuff like that. So maybe they're just not being picky and they're just showing it to everybody. But I would think that they would probably just want to advertise it in cities where it's available. But they may just be thinking of themselves, might as well get people thinking of Verizon when they think of 5G. So I think that's probably the case. And we probably will see more and more advertising from Verizon for their 5G service. And as of right now, the pricing seems pretty good. They're opening it up to everybody at $70 per month, and then for Verizon Wireless subscribers, they're breaking them off a nice little discount of $20 a month. So you're getting it for 50, and it's going to be fast. They are guaranteeing 300 megabits per second on the download, and they're saying up to gigabit speed. So even at its slowest times, 300 megabits per second, I mean, you're not having any issues with anything. You could run, 4K, 8K TV, as well as all of your devices at home connecting laptops and smartphones and whatever. I mean, you're not going to have any issues with 300 megabits per second. That's a great connection. And the fact that it gets up to gigabit speed is just a plus. That's a great connection speed. And at $50 a month, that's that's a great deal. That's really good. Tito, glad you could make it, man. Not much going on, buddy. Thank you for coming in and saying hello and stopping by and joining us here in the live stream. Glad you could be here. Let's see here. DGAF, didn't miss much, man. Glad you could be here. Thank you for stopping by. Pretty much, we just started talking a little bit about 5G residential services as it pertains to the carrier. So things have been pretty quiet from Sprint. They haven't really been talking about their 5G services. Again, Sprint's kind of in a different place. They're, again, trying to bolster and support their 4G LTE, supporting their small cell deployment initiative. So they're not really, close to their 5G deployment just yet. AT&T seems to be pretty close. I think in my next video, I'm going to cover some of their timeline information and their pricing, and what they're going to be doing with that, with their plans. Verizon's set to launch, it's only like 2 weeks from now, not even. It's like a week and a half, 10 days. They'll be launching on October 1st. And T-Mobile, we're expecting them in 2018 as well, and pretty soon. And there's been a lot of noise with Layer 3 T. So T-Mobile's been a pretty busy carrier in terms of, some of the features that the company is going to be offering in some of their services. Now, the video I'm going to here, I'm going to do probably a Patreon exclusive, and I'll probably also do a YouTube video to cover these topics. But I'm definitely going to try to bundle everything together so everybody can get a cohesive understanding on which carriers are offering 5G, starting when, what their plans are going to be, types of pricing we're looking at, and stuff like that. And as of right now, the only carrier that we know for sure has 5G ready is Verizon. And it's kind of questionable if it's really true 5G or not, or if it's just, like gigabit type speed connectivity. So I'm going to cover all of that information on video specifically to that. AT&T has already questioned Verizon's true 5G label. So I'll cover all that stuff in an upcoming video shortly. So stay tuned to that. Make sure you subscribe to the Sneed Mobile Tech YouTube channel. Ding the bell to be notified so you can get a notification whenever I upload those videos. So that's kind of what's up and coming. But again, I treat these live streams kind of like an Ask Me Anything, talk about anything, anything in relation to smartphones. We've got, iPhones are now available. Today's the first day you could buy them in store. You can go to your carrier today, walk in, get an iPhone XS, get an iPhone XS Max. They're available for sale. They've got all the storage options, all the carriers, T-Mobile, Verizon, Sprint, they've all got them. So that's kind of a big deal. I haven't really heard of any lines really forming anywhere. Not at the Apple Store, not at Verizon, not at AT&T. So unless something happened otherwise, it looks like not that much of a rush to buy these phones. So especially people coming out of the iPhone 10, it's probably not the type of upgrade that they are going to consider. But for somebody coming out of a 7 or somebody coming out of a 6S, the iPhone 10s and 10s Max might be something to consider. Uh, but the phones are expensive. I mean, we're talking 1,000 to start, 1,100 for the larger variant. You're going up 100 to 250 bucks if we're talking storage options. You know, 1250, 1350, 14. I think 1450 for the 512 gigabytes of storage on the 10s Max. So, not cheap at all. You'll be paying probably upwards of $50 a month for that with Apple Care and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm not in a rush to purchase it. I'm not really. Yeah, keep your kidneys, right, Arcelia? I'm not really in a rush to spend $1,000 or $1,100. I would never wait in a line for that. Uh, I've never really been a big iPhone person. I personally, I mean, I like the operating system. It's fine. I like the phones. They're okay. You know, I'm just not willing to spend that money. To me, it's not worth it. I don't see the value in it. But for people that are heavily invested in the ecosystem and love what Apple designs bring to the table and love the functionality in the App Store and all that good stuff, that's kind of what they're going to be paying. They're paying a lot of money. The running joke here on the channel is, sell one of your kidneys and get yourself a new iPhone. I'm joking. Don't really sell your kidneys. I'm being facetious. So that's what's been going on. And of course, we have the new Google phones coming out pretty soon. We got a launch date, October 9th. They'll do their launch event. We'll get to see the phones. There's been this whole thing on the different YouTube creators talking about the Google Pixel 3 XL and its ginormous notch. And there's been rumors of some Ultra model that doesn't have bezels and doesn't have a notch. We just need clarification, and we won't truly get that until October 9th from Google. So that's kind of what we for hardware. I'm not sure if there's any other devices coming out this year, but those are the big ones. All right, so let me go ahead and catch up in the live chat. Let's see what we got here. Christian says, I used to do 400 megabits/second with Suddenlink, and let me say that was more than I needed. If 5G were here, I'd love it. Yeah, 5G would be very comparable to that. I think you'd be settling in somewhere around 400 to 500 megs per second on the average. You may get some early morning action, later evening action of full gigabit speed. So, I mean, sky's the limit. When your speeds are that fast, you don't have any type of restrictions. There's no video that it can't render. There's no network load that it couldn't handle. You could have 10 of your friends over doing a fantasy football draft, and they would have no issues on that Wi-Fi. It would probably be fantastic. It would have the capacity, it would have the bandwidth and speed. It would be great. Let's see here. Arcelia says, how can I know if 5G service will be in my area? So if you go to the Verizon website, if you go to the AT&T website, if you go to T-Mobile's website, you just search 5G services, a lot of them already have a listed, I think it's usually dedicated pages, where they put where 5G services are going to start in terms of availability in 2018. Now, this is important because in 2018, we have a handful of cities for each of the carriers. So chances are you may not be included in that list. But even if you're not on the list for 2018, probably within the next couple of months, we're expecting to see the list for 2019. So if you're not getting 5G services coming to your area this year, you're probably going to be getting them next year. Plus, by the end of 2019, we're expecting mobile 5G to actually start to, at some scale, start to deploy. So, a lot of the, the hardware installations and the stuff that AT&T and Verizon are doing, and T-Mobile also, what they're doing, and Sprint as well, they're all upgrading towers to be 5G compatible. And basically, and especially, I know this is true of AT&T, they're going to be just completing a software switch and activating 5G as soon as it's ready for them. The only holdup is this year and early next year, we've got some spectrum auctions that are going to be held by the FCC, they're going to be allocating some spectrum for carriers to be using specifically for 5G. Because remember, a lot of this is millimeter wave spectrum, a lot of it is in the gigahertz ranges, so it's not really the same as what we've been seeing before. It's much higher wave frequencies, so they are definitely different. And some of the spectrum is actually being allocated from other uses. So it was being previously used with TV and different services like that. So once all of that is kind of finalized, we get all that technical stuff, we can actually start to get 5G available in our areas, and people can begin to use it and enjoy the fruits of all the heavy expenditure that the carriers are spending, our hard-earned dollars that we've been spending with them. Let's see here. Darian says, do you have any news on Ceasefire? Nope. No news on Ceasefire. Arcelia says, keep your kidneys. All right, so in reference to the iPhones, yeah, I'll keep my kidneys. The problem is I still might have to sell one of my kidneys because my wife wants one of the new iPhones. So that may mean I have to give up my kidneys after all. It's just so expensive. Like, I remember when $1,000 for a phone seemed like a far stretch, and then we got rumors like a year and a half ago that, you know, Apple was going to be making $1,000 phone, and they did. And then the Galaxy Note 8 came out, and it was like $950, and we're like, oh, Galaxy's now doing it, right? Samsung's making $1,000 phone, and then their Note 9 came out, and the Note 9 is over $1,000. It's like, now in order to get a flagship device, you have to spend $1,000, and you don't have to, but that's kind of what the big name, the big wig phones are doing now. Like, Apple's selling $1,000 phones to start. Samsung's got the Note series; they're at $1,000. They're all very expensive. Something tells me that the Google phones, at least the 3XL, is probably going to be around $900. I don't see why not. They'll probably market it as being cheaper than the iPhone, cheaper than the Note 9, right? They'll use that to their advantage. So that's probably what we're gonna see. It's a lot of money. I'm probably not gonna be upgrading this year unless I feel like a phone is worth upgrading to, and then I find the value in the phone. The phone's got to do stuff that I can't do with my old phone, and then it's got to be a price. I'm not gonna be financing a phone for $50 a month. I have better stuff to spend my money on. But if you're a very wealthy person, money's an issue, you can afford it, by all means, buy the expensive phones, get all the crazy features, enjoy the device. I mean, that's fine. It's just some consumers aren't in that place and aren't in the position to spend, so much money and feeling like they have to sell a body part in order to get a phone. Christian says, so do you think support for the iPhone is diminishing because of the higher prices? I'd say so, at least to a small scale. There's some people out there that still have an iPhone 6S or still have an iPhone 6 Plus, and they're riding it until the wheels fall off because they paid $600 or $700 for their phone several years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and to them it still works. And to them, they're not really liking the trend of phones exceeding $1,000. Now, if your iPhone 6S still works well, battery's still good, it's holding a charge, you got a recent battery upgrade, and it's running well, then you're not in a hurry to upgrade and spend $1,000. And maybe $1,000 just is too much. I know there's going to be some people that are going to buy an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 7 Plus or an iPhone 8 or an iPhone Plus. They're still making those phones. So you don't have to buy an iPhone 10s to buy a new iPhone. You could buy the iPhone 8. You could buy the iPhone 8 Plus. I think the iPhone 8's $549. I think the iPhone 8 Plus is $649. So if that's still the case, there's some value there if you just want a new iPhone. Not new as in newest model, up to date wise, right? Those phones are now a year old, but it's new hardware, right? Like it's gonna be good. It's gonna be functional. Cameras will be competitive in the marketplace. I mean, it's gonna take good photos. Their processors are fast. iOS 12 I hear is fantastic. It's very fluid. It's very smooth. It'll be running all that stuff, and it's gonna see upgrades for several years. So maybe upgrading, to a 1-year-old model might be the best way to go for you. So, I definitely think that you're going to see more and more people buying one model back to save the money. Because I mean, think about it. It's $549 for an iPhone 8, $999 for an iPhone 10s. I mean, that's literally double the price. And we're just talking about 1 year separating those devices. So I'm just not sure if the value is there, and I'm sure there's people that are in the same boat. I think the iPhone 10s and the 10s Max will not sell as well as they think they will. I mean, in terms of Apple's predictions, I think the 10s Max will sell better than the 10s because the 10s Max, it's only $100 more only. So maybe people will think to themselves, well, 5.8-inch display, 6.5-inch display, bigger battery, maybe it's just a better go. So that might be the case. The 10s Max selling better than the 10s. I think the iPhone 10R is going to be the big seller out of all the models from this year. So you'll be seeing a lot of those. They have those color variants that we're expecting. I think those will sell pretty well. I mean, they're starting at $749. That's a much easier pill to swallow than $1099 or $999 for that matter. Now, they're not going to be as good of phones. They're not going to be a full HD display. So, you know, all things considered, I think the 10R will probably be the best seller, though. Arcelia says, do you think 5G would be everywhere? If so, when? I think residential 5G will be pretty well established by 2020, 2021. I don't want to say like we're in a rush, but like there's going to be dozens of markets. Like take Verizon's 5G residential services. They'll have dozens of markets that support that service in 2020. That number by 2021, 2020 will be exponentially greater. I would probably say that most of the country, many states will have 5G residential available to them. I think the carriers are going in with 5G, looking to specifically attack home internet service providers. So they want to get in as quickly as they can. They want to get on that money. And what they're offering could be something that people want to try. So while they're still getting the buzz, while 5G is still like, it's kind of in these early stages where people have a lot of excitement for it, I think the carriers are going to want to, push 5G services very quickly. So I'd say within 2 or 3 years, Arcelia, 5G services will start to really become notable. I think you'll see it in a lot of different places. So I think, Arcelia, if I remember correctly, you're like in the Los Angeles area. I think I may be wrong. I would expect, an area like that to have 5G pretty quickly. And I think in the case of Verizon, LA and Sacramento are on the list for 5G. So it might be available in your area. Now, the one thing I see as being potentially very good for consumers is the fact that Verizon is pushing 5G, right? They really want to put it in people's faces. They want to get people subscribing to the services. AT&T is doing the same. They're pushing as well. T-Mobile is trying to keep pace. They're pushing also to drop services this calendar year. That's really good to see. I like to see the carriers competing. I like to see the carriers jockeying for position, trying to win, right? They're trying to win the race to 5G. Well, truth be told, to hell with the race. It doesn't matter about the race. It's who offers the service to you, and are you going to choose the service? So we could sit here and argue about, oh, Verizon has 5G first. Oh, it's not real Verizon 5G. It's faux 5G. Who cares? They're offering home internet service. Maybe it is true 5G, maybe it isn't. I'll be covering a video on that, but that is good for the consumer. They're going to be offering services that are going to compete with your home internet service providers who you may not like. It's bringing competition to the marketplace, and I'm all for that. And I think you all, if you're a homeowner, if you rent and you have home internet, you know what I'm talking about. You know the pricing has always been very high, and having the enrichment, the new infusion of competition is great for us. I'm very excited. I'd love to see 2 or 3 or 4 carriers bring 5G services to Cleveland and go ahead and compete until they can't take it anymore. Compete for my money, compete for my dollars, and allow me to get the best value out of the deal. And that's my angle in 5G. My angle in 5G is oh, who Verizon's first or T-Mobile. I don't care who's first. What I care about is seeing the marketplace heat up with competition, and then us, the consumers, becoming the beneficiaries of that competition. So I'm excited for 5G as it pertains to pricing, as it pertains to performance and innovation. That's all I really care about. So I'm excited for that. And I think a lot of you out there, the subscribers to the channel, those of you that are here in the live chat, watching my live streams, you're excited to see that 5G also. Uh, and like I said, it's going to happen this year. Verizon's getting ready here in the next week and a half. T-Mobile's got a timeline planned for 2018, as does AT&T. And 2019 it'll expand and it'll grow and more markets will get it. So it's an exciting time to kind of be following along and trying to keep up with what's going on in the wireless space. Christian says, I'd like to hear your opinion on Spectrum, saying that 10 gigabits per second Wi-Fi would fight back 5G. I saw that. I saw that in an article. All right, so what Christian is talking about, Christian is actually talking about what I just, kind of like deviated from, and I kind of just went off on a tangent. So in the article that I was reading, and Spectrum had this opinion that we're going to be able to fend off 5G wireless residential services by offering 10 gig speed. Now, fine, offer 10 gig speed. That's good. That means you are being forced to innovate and offer a new service, better service, and offer more value to customers. Go ahead. I'd love to see Spectrum and Charter and all these cable providers be forced to play their hand, be forced to up the ante, invest in their services, and make things better for customers. Unfortunately, I think people are really starting to like this idea of wireless, being away from cables. So if they are correct in their assumption that it could just increase speed that 5G can't, provide, that's fine. But what if the pricing isn't there and somebody, thinks to themselves as a consumer, I don't need 10 gig speed. I'm good with 1 gig speed. I mean, what could you do with 10 gig that you couldn't do with 1 gig? I mean, sending huge, massive file obviously is faster with 10 gig, but like, what's the difference? I mean, what if it was double the price? What if it was triple the price? People still consider pricing. So what I would ask Spectrum is, what do you plan pricing 10 gig speed? You know what I'm saying? Because obviously they're running it through fiber optics, fiber cables. What do they plan on charging for that? Because if somebody says, like Verizon says to you, hey, we've got this offer for 5G, we're guaranteeing 300 megabits per second and up to 1 gig, and we'll charge you $50. That might be good enough. That'd be great for me. That's great. It's fantastic. 300 megs download, up to 1 gig download. I'd take that in a heartbeat for $50, especially because I'm a Verizon Wireless customer and they're going to take $20 off of the fee. So instead of 70, it's 50. Spectrum's going to have to compete. They've got some new competition, and we're the ones that benefit from it. So I'm happy to see it. I know T-Mobile's going to bring it. I know AT&T's going to bring it. I know Verizon's bringing it this year, right? So we'll see. And we'll see what Spectrum's response is to it. We'll see if they put their money where their mouth is, too. They could just be blowing smoke and mirrors. They could be selling wolf tickets, right? They could be like, yeah, we're going to offer 10 gigs, and they may never do it. Or they may do it at some crazy, outrageous price. Like, come on, you got to offer value here. Arcelia says, what's going to happen to home internet company in terms of 5G? Verizon isn't everywhere in Los Angeles. Yeah, LA is a pretty big city, so I guess it kind of depends what part of town you're in. The only thing I could say, Arcelia, is double check. I would call Verizon, starting October 1st. Ask them about the availability according to your zip code. See if they're, ready to start rolling out the hardware in your area. Chances are, if you can't access it through their website, then it's probably not going to be available, but it could be. I would call them and check, or I would hit the website and see if it's there. Arcelia, I would ask you, since you are so close to LA, if Verizon 5G residential is available to you and I know you're not a Verizon Wireless customer. They would be charging $70 to you. They would also be providing Apple 4K TV for streaming, or they'll be giving you YouTube TV included. $70 a month for those speeds, for those services. Would you be interested? Would you be willing to pay the price? $70 a month. Do you see value in that? Is that better than what you have now, or would you consider it? And I don't want to say like just Arcelia, but like, do you guys think that $70 a month for including YouTube TV or including Apple 4K TV, plus 300 megabits per second download guarantee up to 1 full gig speed, would you do it? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. If I was stuck with Charter, if I was stuck with Spectrum and I was paying $80 a month for internet, to get 300 megabits per second, I would leave them in a heartbeat, you know? All right, so Arcelia, you've got 100 megs per second, $50 a month. All right, so you would be essentially tripling your speed, actually, and in some cases, 10 times faster, because that's kind of the range. They're saying that Verizon's 5G is going to range from 300 megabits per second to a full gig. So, I mean, you're going to be a lot faster, and it's only going to be $20 more. And they're giving you YouTube TV, and they're giving you Apple 4K TV. So I don't know. I would say that it's worth the value in that case, especially if your provider has done you wrong in the past, and their equipment sucks, and they're charging you rental fees for your modem. I don't know. Fernando says Cox is charging 80 for 300 megs. Yeah, Fernando, that's what I'm paying. Cox is charging me the same thing. They're charging for 300 megabits per second, $80 a month, $79.99. Throw in a modem, a 2-in-1 modem router, you're looking at $15 in rental fees, and then it's going to be spotty. There's going to be corner house that aren't covered. The value's not all there with Cox either. Now, one thing I'm interested to see about the Verizon 5G services, like I was saying before, I would want to know what the hardware looks like. I want to see boxes that are positioned outside of apartment complexes and homes and neighborhoods. I want to see those. And I also want to see what they're putting in your house. I want to see the receiver. I want to see the transmitter. Is this going to be like a small little modem, or is this going to be like a big hulking thing that's going to be sitting under your TV? Because I think that's kind of going away. People don't want big, bulky hardware. They want to see something small, compact, reliable, wireless. Like, this is a big thing now. People want as wireless as they can get. Now, there are some people that still, they run desktops and they want a wired connection, but they want to be as wireless as possible in terms of the masses. So we'll have to see what they do. I can't wait to get some visuals of the equipment and what they're doing. Christian says, I see some cities having more than just 4 or 5 internet offers. I did some research on fixed wireless, and it's getting really interesting. Christian, it is getting very interesting. The wireless solutions that companies are going to be offering the next few years are really going to shake up the market, because they're new players in the game. This stuff was never offered before. Now, there are some regional carriers that do fixed wireless, but they're not providing these speeds. So that's kind of the nice thing, is we're going to be getting full gig speed for fixed wireless at home, which is going to, kind of force the issue with the internet service providers. They haven't felt this pressure before. They've had these, these regional deals. They've had these agreements in place where it's like, it's just them. They have had no competition. They've had nobody pushing them. If you look at the at the boxes, the TV boxes, the cable boxes for like Cox and Spectrum and Charter, it's old, outdated. It's straight up garbage. The stuff's unreliable. They don't send software updates. It's slow. It's aggravating. Like, this is going to force them to have to innovate or fall behind and go out of business. So to me, It's so exciting to see the competition coming to the market. I couldn't be happier, and the sooner the better, honestly. Uh, so, I'm not going to sit here and worry about who wins the 5G race. To me, the more the merrier. To me, I'd be happy with 10 new 5G providers. That would be great. I'm excited to see T-Mobile in the game. They're disruptors. I'm excited for AT&T. I don't like AT&T, but they're definitely big on the media side and they're big in internet service providing. And Verizon too. I'm very excited for it actually. Bad news for Celia. No go on the 5G in her area. So yeah, for the rest of you out there, if you're in the Sacramento area, maybe shot in the dark, you're there. If you're in the LA area, it's possible it might be available to you. Uh, I think Houston's in there, and I think Indianapolis, Indiana is also in there. I'm in Cleveland, so I'm pretty bummed out. I was hoping to get some 5G this year, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like most of the companies are going with very large cities first. So uh, New York's gonna see some 5G this year. LA is going to see it. Chicago probably is going to see some form of 5G from some carriers. So we'll have to see. All right, things are kind of quiet in the live chat. I'm pretty much caught up. So if there's anything in particular you guys want to cover from the carriers, it could be prepaid, it could be postpaid, anything you guys want to talk in terms of hardware and phones. Uh, That's going on. My Cleveland Browns, I don't know if I got any football fans out there. My Browns got a big win last night on Thursday Night Football. They beat the New York Jets. Baker Mayfield came in, offering some injury relief to Tyrod Taylor, had the big win. I don't know if there's any football fans out there. I'm just giddy and happy because it's the first game that the Browns have won in like 2 years. So I'm very, very happy. Let's see here. Darian says, "Why don't you like AT&T?" Uh, I have mixed emotions about AT&T. So, in terms of their service, I like it. I think AT&T's wireless service is very reliable. I think it's really good. I think their speeds are fine. Uh, their business practices are very questionable. The bottom line is AT&T is a business. Their main goal, main objective is to be profitable. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that's the main goal, but AT&T will step on anybody and anything in the process. So I feel like they've done some really, really scummy things, and a lot of people that have had AT&T in the past always speak so poorly about them, customer service wise. So I don't know. I when I had AT&T, I was happy with them. I never had issues with customer care. I would call, they would resolve my issues, return money, offer discounts. I never had a problem with them personally. Uh, but yeah, that's kind of what I see from people in terms of their view on AT&T. Plus, I feel like AT&T is such a big player. They like to, you know, kind of corner the market, especially from the media side. The purchase of Time Warner, that was a big deal. I hated to see that. I hate acquisitions. I hate mergers. I like the competition. So AT&T is all about swallowing the little guys and just making them disappear and then kind of monopolizing on their side. So that's kind of why I don't like AT&T. Yeah, Arcelia, that happens everywhere. uh, the internet service providers will strike a deal locally, in certain areas of town, and they will lock down the area and make it so they're the only game in town. There's no choices. So let's say Charter is in your area, or let's say Spectrum is in your area. They're the only one you could choose. They may let another service provider come and play, but they're not going to let them have the speed. So, let's say, like in my example, Cox is the provider that I have. I could get AT&T, but they offer like 1 megabit per second or 3 megabits per second. What am I going to do with 3 megabits per second? Watch 480p video? What am I supposed to do with that? So, that's that kind of the situation there is they monopolize, they try to like corner off areas and make sure that they're the only game in town so they can make all the money. Right? That's the name of the game for them. Christian says, yeah, it's kind of a bummer not getting 5G here. If it were me, I'd try attacking both mid-sized towns and larger markets. Uh, yeah, the actually AT&T is kind of doing that. AT&T is they're looking to get their 5G services into a few large cities and also in mid-sized cities. So that's kind of AT&T's approach. T-Mobile's all about the big cities and Verizon's all about the big cities. But if you think about it, like, where would you want to provide services? Like, big cities would make sense. You can take, huge, massive high rises and apartment complexes, install these 5G transmitters, and you could offer services to hundreds of people in a location. In a small town, you're not going to have that sort of congestion. You're not going to have that type of traffic. So maybe putting 5G there initially doesn't make sense. So on initial rollout in the early stages of deployment, maybe, it makes a lot of sense to companies to go big cities for the 5G. But eventually, yes, mid-sized cities will get 5G. They're going to want to serve as many people as they can. Christian says, frankly, I'd like to see AT&T broken up again. Man, I would love to see AT&T break up. They have too much. They're so powerful, even from just the TV side. I'm not even talking, all the other stuff, but like, they've got all these deals. Like, they literally just want to buy everything out so nobody can compete with them. It's so frustrating to a consumer because all we want are choices. All we want are options. All we want is competition so that we can have better value in what we're buying. And if companies are cornering the market, if companies are just, I have one option, I mean, that's horrible for business. Well, good for business, but horrible for the consumer. So the marketplace struggles and the marketplace suffers. So yeah, that's been really unfortunate, and hopefully that changes with residential fixed 5G. So Celia says, how will 5G get in my area? Time. You just have to wait. I think in your case, it's just what section of town you're in, maybe getting 5G a little bit later. So maybe on your side of town, it may become available in 2019, or maybe it becomes available in 2020. So you just have to kind of, patiently play the waiting game, which I know it sucks. I want to see 5G get to my city. I want to benefit from that technology and start using that service. What up, Mike? Glad you can make it, buddy. Thank you for stopping by. I know everybody's got a busy schedule. It's what, like 5 o'clock or so? 5:30? 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. I know some of you guys are all over the place. It's probably 2 o'clock, 2:30 somewhere, West Coast. Anyways, Mo, what you up to, bro? What's happening? Anybody in terms of wireless carriers, has anybody been seeing anything going on in their areas in terms of cell phone towers being worked on, upgrades happening, new types of antenna, new tower sites being installed? I don't know. I've been kind of on the lookout for that. I know in my area, I've been seeing a lot of small cells deployed by all the carriers. So I don't know if you guys have been seeing the same. I've been seeing it in the Cleveland area. I've noticed that speeds and capacity have improved greatly. So I've kind of been noticing that. But that's pretty much all I've been seeing. I haven't really seen anything else. Again, from the 5G side, Cleveland is not getting anything 5G related for at least probably another couple of years. But it'd be nice to have it here by 2020. I really hope to see if there's anybody that subscribes to the channel or watches the live stream. If you're in areas where they have 5G, I'd love to see I'd love to see pictures. I want to see what they're doing with the setups. I want to see what the actual hardware looks like and how it's used. So until that time, I'm kind of just waiting, and I want to see. We are expecting Verizon to push out their hardware. I'm sure they've already installed it, and services are ready October 1st. So Fernando says, we have a lot of small cells in North San Diego County. I remember when I was in San Diego, man, I want to say it's been about 2 years. When I was there, I didn't see many small cells. So it's good to see that the networks are investing and strengthening it there. Now, Fernando, I don't know who your provider is, but I have Verizon, and when I was out there, speeds in San Diego were not that great. I mean, they were okay. Um, I'd say on average I was getting about 15 to 20 megs per second, but in Cleveland I average 50, 60 megs per second easy in so many different places, 30, 40. In some spots I'm getting 100 megs per second on the download. So I was kind of disappointed when I was traveling. I saw like Verizon's, speeds. Maybe it was just congestion, a lot of people on the network. But in San Diego, I wasn't impressed by Verizon. I don't know which provider you have. Wow, Fernando says, seems almost every block has a small cell. That's pretty crazy. I'm guessing though each of those small cells for a different carrier. So, you probably have like a Sprint small here, a block or two down. You've got like T-Mobiles, you've got Verizons, you've got Sprints and stuff like that. You got to keep in mind too, like when I was in San Diego, I mean, there were a lot of people hanging out there. Like in terms of city area, yeah, there was tons of people. So I could see why they wanted to support the network there. You know what, Christian? I don't know about Google. See, here's the thing about Google, and you mentioned that they're investing in 5G. I know Dish is for sure, and Dish because Dish has an uncertain future in what they're doing with their business model. So Dish, I understand, but Google's kind of weird. Google had a huge initiative for Google Fiber. They were running fiber in all these different cities, and like nothing came of it. It's like an incomplete project. Google is notorious for this. They dump millions and billions of dollars into something, and then it just kind of like disappears. It's really strange. They have these initiatives and these technology, and they invest, and then they never see it through, or they don't go full out, all out to make sure that it happens the way they wanted it to. They just see like, oh, it's not really working out for us. We're gonna cut our losses. They never really follow through. It's kind of weird. Like is Google that rich that they don't even care that they wasted $50 million or $100 million? They legit don't give a damn. Like it's crazy. Google apparently has so much money they can just walk away from projects and they're like, oh well, didn't work out. On to the next thing. So yeah, I find Google's investment into 5G. I mean, I question it. I just don't see how. I mean, what are they going to do with it? Are they going to offer 5G services? Are they going to get in on hardware? Uh, are they going to be market to market? Do they want to do something nationally? I don't know. I'll have to look into it, but they would be interesting because Google has no limit on money. Like they are so rich as a company, they could pretty much do whatever they wanted. Like look at Google's phones. Like they don't even sell. People don't even give a damn about Google phones, and they continue to make them. And they have a long event about them. Everybody gets all yeah, great, this is awesome, and they don't sell. Google doesn't have two drops to Apple's bucket. You know what I mean when it comes to hardware and stuff. So yeah, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Google. They're the type of company they would start something and they would never see it through or finish it. All right, those are pretty good speeds, Fernando. 50 megabits per second on T-Mobile. That's pretty good. Um, I'm guessing the other carriers are probably pretty similar. I feel like Verizon's a big carrier in San Diego. Now I know Qualcomm is a big thing in San Diego. I feel like that's Qualcomm's headquarters. I feel like I drove by a building or something. It was like a Qualcomm building. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. But I thought I remember it being in San Diego. Maybe it was the San Diego Chargers at the time. I think it was Qualcomm Stadium is where they played. All right. So my initial goal was to make sure that I was in the chat for at least an hour. We're about an hour in. Things have been pretty good. We've had some pretty interesting conversations about 5G as it pertains to residential. Um, we talked a little bit about carrier responsiveness in 5G and how they're going to cause home internet service providers to have to kind of innovate and change their marketing plans and have to compete and become more valuable, offering a better value to consumers. If there's anything in particular you guys want to cover here in the next few minutes, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm reading, I'm looking, I'm trying to answer all your questions. I'm trying to contribute to the conversation. Whatever you guys want to include, go ahead and get it in. My goal was to at least be available for an hour. We've kind of reached that. So if there's anything you guys want to cover, make sure you let me know in the comments section. Yeah, Fernando, I could have sworn that the headquarters were in San Diego. I knew I wasn't going crazy because, I'm a big NFL fan, and I remember when the Chargers were in San Diego. I remember it was Qualcomm Stadium, and I'm sure they're very powerful and very influential in the city of San Diego. I also know that San Diego's like a big military town too, naval town maybe. Oh, and I must say, not trying to brown nose or anything, San Diego's a beautiful town. The weather's phenomenal. The place is gorgeous. You've got the Pacific Ocean right there. The landscape is beautiful. It was a great town. I really enjoyed my stay there. I spent, I think, about 5 days in San Diego. It was a good time. It was one of my favorite trips I ever had, actually. Me and the wife and the baby went out there. It was a good time. We spent about a week out there. All right, well, if everybody is good, if everybody's satisfied, hey, that's it for the live stream. Looks like things have gotten kind of quiet. No problem. It was a quiet week. There wasn't much going on. I do have a couple of videos coming out this weekend, so there's probably going to be a couple uploaded to the Patreon page. So, Sneed Mobile Tech on Patreon. Go ahead and check that out if you haven't done it already. I'll put a link in the description below. And for those of you that have never visited the Patreon page, I encourage you to do so. There are some videos there that are exclusive to Patreon, but they are publicly available. So check those out. If you like what I do on the YouTube channel, the Patreon is more the same, but from a more technical side. So if you like what I'm doing on the YouTube channel, but you want something a little bit more in depth, head there and check things out. As always, I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching the live stream. Thank you for your contributions in the comment sections on all my videos. Thank you again for everything, your continued support on the Sneed Mobile Tech YouTube channel. It is a pleasure to make the videos. And again, I thank you all for your continued support. So without further ado, I'll let you guys free. Go ahead and enjoy the rest of the weekend. It is Friday, so hallelujah, we made it. Fantastic, a good work week. Next week, we'll do another live stream. So next week, Friday, same time, around 4:15-ish, I'll make myself available. We'll have the live stream, and hopefully we'll have some news up and coming next week from the carriers and some 5G news coming from T-Mobile and AT&T. So that's up and coming, and then we got the Google launch event in a couple weeks. So definitely stay tuned for that. We'll have some videos on that. A couple videos coming this weekend, 2 to Patreon, at least 1 to YouTube, maybe 2. So stay tuned to the channel. That's it for this one. Thank you guys. That completes the live stream. I will see you guys in the next one next Friday. Peace.